Welcome back. I'm Shane, this is Relative Time, and today we are finally going to check out a Laco on the channel. But it's not just any Laco, but the Laco Neapel 39. Or maybe it's Napel. One of their more unusual fliegers. If for some reason you're not familiar with Laco, here's really what you need to know, and there are really two reasons to get one. The first is if you're looking for a more authentic flieger. And the reason I say that is because Laco was one of the original manufacturers of fliegers back in the 40s. And they're one of the few that are still around. Now, they currently make a number of different types of watches, but they're still primarily known for their fliegers. And as a side note, Stowa is another brand that can claim the same. Now, the second reason is that if you're looking for a relatively affordable German-made watch, then for that, Laco is going to be your go-to destination. For this one, we're looking at a smaller flieger at 39mm. It also has a lug-to-lug of 46.5 and a total thickness of 11.5. Which does include a flat sapphire crystal, as well as an exhibition caseback. It has a decent weight of 80 grams, including its leather strap, a lug width of 18mm, a paltry 50 meters of water resistance, and it's all powered by a Miyota 821A movement. For the most part, the Neapel is your standard classic Type A flieger, which means it's going to combine a straightforward brushed case and a simple printed dial with only hour indicators, as opposed to a Type B flieger, which has a combination. The only thing that really makes the Neapel stand out from all the other Lacos is its orange indices. So for the most part, with this one, what you see is really what you get. With that out of the way, let's start off by talking about the negatives with this one. And first up, let's talk about that orange lume. When the lights go out, it actually looks really cool with that orange glow. Yet there's very little staying power with this orange superluminova. In my comparison test, I had it up against two other fliegers from AliExpress. One with green C3 and another with blue BGW9 lume. And as you can see, it's no comparison. Heck, it doesn't even keep up with the Vostok. So in some ways, that is to be expected, because orange lume really isn't known for its performance. I'm sure the other Lacos with more standard superluminova are going to be better. The second negative is the caseback, and this is something I didn't even notice until I started doing the review. Zooming in, I think it's a good looking caseback. It's simple, clean, with an exhibition crystal, giving you a glimpse of the movement. At face value, it's very tool watch worthy. Yet, looking closer, there's no holes or grooves for a caseback tool, which means it's not a screwed down caseback, and most likely a snap-on. And I hate snap-on casebacks, at any price range, let alone what we have here, as they're always just a pain to work with. You're almost guaranteed to scratch something up. And especially so when you have a crystal, as you want to be careful not to break it. Now, to be fair, if you never plan on opening this up yourself to regulate it or maintain it, and you're just going to take it to a professional to maintain it, then this is going to be a minor issue. But I still hate them. And the last negative is going to be value. MSRP here is $410 US, and that's a lot for a pretty basic, simple watch. It's not hard to find other fliegers out there that are going to give you more bang for your buck. Such as this one. This is the escapement time flieger off AliExpress. Now, the quality of the Laco is going to be a little bit better, but either way, you're looking at a really simple design. So it's really hard to argue that the Laco is 4 times better. Now, that said, you can occasionally find deals on Laco, and when you do, they are worth it. With that out of the way, let's move on to the good. And let's start off with what I mean by a more authentic flieger. Now, let me be clear here. I don't think there's anything wrong with a Japanese flieger from Citizen or a Chinese-made flieger from AliExpress. Regardless of its origins, I don't consider them clones, copies, or even homages. To me, a flieger is just a type of watch, as originally the German military came up with the specs and the basic design. Then they just commissioned a number of different companies to make them. So there's no real single or original or true flieger. And as such, it's really hard to say one is a copy or a clone. That said, Laco and Stowa have been making fliegers from the very beginning, and as such there's a really cool historical connection you get with their watches you don't find with other brands. And that's something a lot of collectors put a lot of value in. Plus, it's made in Germany, and you know the Germans always make good stuff. Another great thing is the classic design. Yes, it's very simple, but that's true to the original fliegers, and kind of the whole point. Plus, again, while it may be simple, Laco executed it beautifully, where the case has a nice brushed finish as well as smooth edges. all while the various elements of the dial come through clearly and are well defined. It's also a watch that's very comfortable to wear. On my 7¼ inch wrist, it sits squarely where it needs to. And while it has a good solid feel as you pick it up, it's light enough that it just melts into your wrist. Laco makes some larger fliegers that may have a bigger presence, but I think 39 is going to be ideal for comfort. Although I think a lot of that comfort is due to the terrific 18mm strap here. It's a good quality leather that's supportive yet flexible from the get-go for minimal break-in. And I love the orange stitching here, as it just matches the dial perfectly. In general, Laco does not cheap out on their straps, so this is one you're going to keep on your watch until it wears out. So that was the good. Let's move on to what's just okay here. And this is more of a subjective or nitpicking section. Now, for whatever reason, Laco seems committed to using Miyota 821As in a number of their watches, which is not necessarily a bad thing. For the most part, the 821A is equivalent to a Seiko NH35A. Both have standard beat rates, similar power reserve, both have hacking and hand winding, or at least the newer 821As do. But people tend to have their preferences, and for some, the Miyota 8218 is a no-go. The 8218's rotor tends to be a little louder, and it also has a safety feature that may occasionally cause a second hand to stutter. You won't lose any time, and it's not necessarily going to happen on every watch, but the possibility does exist. Which is honestly a larger, longer conversation, and one we just recently had with my last San Martin video. So if you're curious and you want to know more, I'll have a link down below to that video, and you'll see a great example of what I'm talking about. But bottom line, it's still a good, reliable movement. It's just some would rather have a Seiko in it. And lastly, let's talk about the orange hands and indices. This is going to be pretty subjective, and I'm sure some people are going to look at this watch and love it. Heck, I thought it was really interesting when I first saw it, and that's one of the reasons I got it. But I gotta say that it never really grew on me. And after a while, I couldn't help but look at this black and orange color scheme and just think of Halloween. I will say though that there is a ton of contrast between the orange and matte black, so everything comes through brilliantly when you want to use it. In the end, I think I'd prefer more of a classic flieger with white indices, so I'll probably wind up selling this one. Although I did recently pick up this other Laco, which again I think is pretty interesting. I'll give this one some time and see if this Kali dial flieger hybrid thing grows on me. But back to the Nepal. In a nutshell, this is your everyday standard Type A flieger. It's just this one's been electrified with orange neon. Other than that though, what you see is really what you're getting here. And as for Laco in general, they are pricey for what you're getting, but they do make a great watch with good straps. And if you happen to find one on sale, then they are definitely worth it. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. As usual, let me know your thoughts on this Laco down below. And let me know if you'd like a comparison between it and the Escapement Time Flieger. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Shane, this is Relative Time. See you next time.